No, I started about, I guess, 13 or 14 years ago.
Well-
I'm not trained as a photographer. It was just something that I started to do because I like to notice things. Actually, it was my nephew was visiting me from Florida, and he mentioned something about taking pictures. And I just remember that moment that he asked me, and for some reason, I was busy. I was working, and I'm a Jewish educator, so I was working as a school director, a Hebrew school director. And I bought my first point and shoot camera at that point, and probably started photographing everything, but mostly my garden. I jumped in with both feet I used to work in Acton, and on Sunday mornings I'd go super early so that I could do photo shoots on the way up to Acton from Newton. And yeah, I was photographing lots of things, a lot of plants and gardens. Brimfield, I love photoing. I used to go to Brimfield and take photographs of the people there and the objects, the old objects. Yeah, I jumped into it. I'm still jumping. Once I was finished working at my job in Acton, I went to the Griffin Museum of Photography, and I took their atelier class, and that was like a step into something a little bit more serious. I don't have great technical skills as a photographer, but I have an eye, and so I decided, even if I don't have the great technical skills, that I would go in and take the atelier. Having feedback from people who were in the field and also your classmates, and then having an exhibit at the museum that has been sort of not juried, but looked over and processed a lot. So that one was work that I did on my mom. How did I end up with that idea? My mom at that point was 95, and she had dementia. So I just sort of said, I think I'm going to take pictures of my mom in hats. I didn't give it much thought, but it was a life-changing decision on my part, because the hat project, Mom and I worked for about 4 months. I'd go in, I collected many, many hats from theater companies and people, and in her small room in this wonderful place in Newton, we created a tiny studio. And Mom was great. She didn't forget who I was. She was totally fine. But this gave her a new life. Just like when you give someone a prop, they're able to be someone else. And when I put these hats on my mom, she was able to transport herself and become a storyteller. And she was an amazing storyteller. So that project with Mom sort of set me in a different direction. It also enabled me to take photographs of other people in their 90s. And it's my mom's work that has sort of traveled the most from place to place, because I do believe that there was a lesson with my mom's work, and that is the elderly need to be seen. They need to have they're still full of stories, but we sort of pass over them. We just look at them, but we don't hear them. I'm crazy about plants. There are people in the world who are crazy about makeup or clothes or handbags. You're not going to find that with me. Plants are my thing. They give me comfort. They're like tiny little worlds. Each leaf, a world of its own. Each tree trunk, a story. They're giants that surround us, and they're magic. And so I like to record the magic. I like to see things and show people what I'm seeing. And leaves are a wonderful way to do that. I like the way that leaves sort of mimic our own circular system. I like the veins. I I like coming up close. I like to see what rain looks like on them. I like to see the imprints they make on sidewalks. I like to see them. I just like to see them. I just love leaves. And it's only one of my projects. I have another project where I photograph community gardens. So that's a project that was up at one of the Griffin galleries last year. I also did a great project, one of my favorites. I have a messy yard, a yard that's probably not envied by many people, but it's filled with weeds. I love weeds. What I tried to do over the course of a year is take photographs of the different plants that were in my yard, and I used to create bouquets from them. So I had a series of bouquets from April, May, June, all the way through December, and so that's another whole series. So 3 different series, one on leaves, one on community gardens, and one on my messy garden. Most of my poetry on my website, I have a blog called Words Have Wings, and it's mostly, I'm Jewish, and I usually write on the Torah portion of the week. The Torah is divided into portions, one for each week, sometimes a double. So most of my poetry is used to explain Torah portions. But yes, there are some over the past 5 years that I've been writing that involve plants. They're probably some of my favorites because I don't have to study and I don't have to think a lot about leaf poems or about nature poems. They're just there. They might not be Emily Dickinson, but they're there, and they come more naturally, and I don't have to study to do them. I don't know if I'm an artist. I have a lot of creativity, whatever that means. When my kids were in summer camp long ago, I didn't really have any experience, but I decided I could direct plays, so I directed lots and lots of musicals at my kids' summer camp and then at the congregation where I was working. And that enabled me to not just to create, but use other people's creativity. Because everybody's got a spark of creativity. Everybody. There is so much that people bring to the table. And once I left my job, it just opened up worlds for me. The photography and then the poetry. I am a tree too, my friend. I am your little sister blithely stretching along your trunk. Watch as like you my skin thickens with age. It creases and cracks, whites and grays. It marks a spoonful of wisdom, but it pales against your silent wisdom stretched backwards eons. I am a tree too, my friend. Liquids rise and fall through both of us, nourishing us, breathing and feeding us. You breathe out and I breathe in. I breathe out and you breathe in. I am a tree too, my friend. I have taken off my shoes. My toes find the earth, they burrow and dig, but they barely scratch the surface of the earth. They cannot root far beneath the earth. They cannot drink from the waters below. Oh, my silent friend, I fear that I am not a tree. No matter how high I stretch my limbs toward the sun, no matter how I will my trunk to be strong or how I long to sway and dance in the summer breeze, my feet will never root in one spot underneath me. You, my friend, are destined to remain in one spot. You are a witness to history. Your commentary, the deep creases in your bark, the crown of your leaves trembling. It is my fate to walk upon the earth and guard you, my brothers and sisters. You will be my roots and I will be your voice. I will fill your silence with words, and you must promise to stand witness to history. Continue filling the world with your majestic presence, your breath, your beauty, you who bridge heaven and earth. Sometimes I wish I were a tree. It's a yellow morning. It's a yellow April morning. The kaleidoscope is spinning. Turn it. Maple blossom yellow. Again, tulip red. Shake it. Soft green of new leaves. Swivel. Apple flower white. Spin a patchwork blue sky. Look up. Look down. Swivel and sway. Fingers touch. Silver rain clouds. The earth breathes deeply, a sigh that sounds like an April breeze. I have one more story. I can tell you one more story about how it started. My mom passed away right before COVID began, and Jewish people, for 1 year after their parents die, it's an obligation to say a special prayer called the Kaddish. And you do that every day. Actually, you do it multiple times a day as part of a group of people. So Mom died right before COVID, and I was going to synagogue every morning and saying this prayer with a congregation. But then everything closed up because of COVID. So I ended up at an online forum, an online congregation at Kehillat Israel in Brookline. And at that point, at some point during the summer, saying the Kaddish, I started I wrote a poem to do a commentary on the Torah. Just one poem, because the rabbi asked if anybody wants to do one, and I said, oh, okay, I'll try. And once I started the poetry, that was 5 years ago. I'm still doing the poetry every week. I still recite poetry every week at their online service on Wednesdays. And that made my blog. My mom, it was my mom, you know? My mom who inspired all of the things that I'm doing now.